Well, hello, my friends and fans everywhere. Once again, it's your fitness captain here. It's a beautiful day here in Canada. Well, somewhat, a little bit overcast. But seriously, come over here, my friends. Join me, my weary travelers, won't you? Take your coat off, grab a stool or chair. Come warm yourself by the fire, as I always say. Maybe put on a pair of Slippy Joes, have a hot cup of Java. And won't you join me for another story, will you? As I give you my deep research, approximation, evaluation, investigation, discussion, and hardcore analysis. And a breakdown, a thorough breakdown of the likes of Goode, the insider's insider, right? And how about Luis Elizondo some, and the TTSA, Hal Putoff and the rest of the gang, Tom DeLong. I think that's what I'm going to attempt to do in this video, my friends. And if we get time, maybe get into the national security state. As a matter of fact, we're at least going to touch on the national security state. I'm going to tell you why in a few moments, I hope, my friends. Okay? So this is the first time here in my apartment to do a video. I'm pretty excited. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope the volume's is better here than it has been outside, even though it's always nice to have great background outside. But my good friend Joe from the Carolinas, he was adamant that the next video you do it indoors. You know, you get a different feel. The audience gets a different feel. You guys and gals out there, right? So, are you ready for a cacophony? Are you ready for a cacophony, cavalcade, conversation? I hope you guys are paying attention to my shirt right now. At least this part. You see what it says? No, not this. This. It says NASA, baby. Never a straight answer, as they always say, right? Anybody who researches and knows anything about NASA and their true agendas knows they're never a straight answer. As I've always said many, many times in my videos, my friends, and I even did a short video for fun at Starbucks, they are just a cover for the NRO and the Air Force space programs, and the Air Force and the NRO are a cover for a more highly classified covert space program, the Navy. And rest assured, my friends, God willing, the next video we're going to do, or very soon, we're going to talk about that Navy covert space program and more of the Air Force as well, but particularly the Navy, my friends, because they're spearheading these huge USO fleets coming out of the ocean seen worldwide. But seriously, so my friends, but today, as I say, we're going to do the Goode fiasco, right? Joe from the Carolinas, he is a superstar. You are, Joe. You're doing awesome work again. Joe's intellect is absolutely supreme. I mean, when he does research and when he's asking questions, nobody's better. And relating to other people and being able to bring out information. Not obviously, you know, not everybody you talk to is going to bring out necessarily all truthful information, depending on who they are. There's a lot of disinformation people. We're still trying to figure out this Jason Smith that Joe interviewed. That was a very interesting interview. At first, I was convinced that he was involved in the secret space program, for example, the real secret space program. You see, I'm all about trying to get the truth out, as others are, on the real secret space program. You know, of course, the initials there in the United States, people are up in arms. It's called the SSP, right? Secret Space Program. But the actual, you know, we're talking about, in other words, a real secret space program, the people that want the truth on this all-important subject, my friends. Because, again, it's a multifaceted, complex subject with a lot of moving parts, right? Absolutely it is, my friends. But I've always said in my videos, we can get a lot more clarity, and let's not have ufologists sell themselves out anymore and blurring the truth to be able to sell more books and make more money by convincing true believers that some could be aliens, or that we back-engineered, reverse-engineered E.T. craft at Roswell, for example. My friends, it's absolutely false narrative. There's no more blurring the truth. I hope these ufologists, and they know who they are. I've talked about them on the videos. They've done some other great work, but do not blur the truth anymore, because this is so important, my friends, okay? Stories are stories. It's okay to listen to stories, but the facts are, my friends, and common reason, logic, common sense, as Joe always says, if you confront that paranormal with reason, logic, and common sense, at Roswell, New Mexico, that was the paperclip Nazi scientists making, they already had flying programs in the 1930s from the Nazis. They were 20, 30 years ahead, as we all know, of the Russians, of the Americans, the rest of the world. So most likely it had to be either Nazi or Russians that crashed. It was humans. It had nothing to do with ET, my friends. And every time you go to the, alien hypothesis or that fallback position of ET theory, you take away from our human brilliance, okay? I just got to get that out of the way, my friends. So, as I meant to say on my introduction, I'm trying to be bold, honest, open, and true here, okay? I hope my face doesn't look too serious, but it is a serious topic, my friends. But we can add levity to it. I mean, the Corey Goodes, they're obviously providing a mindless entertainment news hole, right? Your David Wilcox, your Emery Smiths. But it is pretty disgusting, my friends, when they're trying to say that this is truth. And they shouldn't be making 1 penny on this information, especially when they're committing, looks like fraud. They're certainly lying to the public. Now, my friends, I don't blame just them. And apparently I'm right on with my research. I'm not perfect, of course, my friends, but what I said in my last video critiquing Corey Goode and the whole fiasco, the debacle that's going on, I told you guys that I believe that they're being financed by the elements of the U.S. intelligence agencies, right? Well, shortly after my video was downloaded and up on YouTube, Dark Journalist and Walter Bosley, they had an amazing interview. They've said the same thing, right? And I totally agree with them. As I said in my video, I said the same thing. There's no question about it, my friends. There is definitely a marketing scheme. Dark Journalist has done a great job. He always believed from day one that it was obviously, a type of marketing scheme and the CIA were involved. It's a CIA op, This is very common, my friends. There has been so many CIA ops, these psychological operations, my friends, and it's all about perception management. Even Walter Bosley has used that term. And that's what it is, my friends. And what comes with that often is disinformation, lies, a misdirection. And my friends, on this topic, the secret space program, as any researcher knows, my friends, when you're trying to get at the truth of the real secret space program and what's really going on, and the facts are there, my friends, you just got to collect the data points and you got to do some history research. And then you get a big picture, as I'm trying to give you guys, a foundational understanding, the underpinnings of what's really going on, where it started. And it started with those Nazis. And we'll get into that on another video, the whole history of the technology, my friends, and where it started. But seriously, friends, I mean, when we're talking about the real secret space program, trying to get at that truth, as I say, we always encounter disinformation. The disinformation in this field, my friends, and lies is off the charts. Catherine Austin-Fitts will tell you that, and others, of course, and Dolan knows, and Joseph P. Farrell, and of course, Dark Journalist, Walter Bosley, Joe from the Carolinas, and many people on the chat pages. I got to give you guys credit, and everybody who watches my videos so far, thank you very much. I know it's a small channel so far, but I think, my friends, that I have a unique insight and perspective through my research and being very honest with my intellectual work as well. I think I can offer some really unique insights of the valid truth and information of what's going on, my friends, and where we need to take this. I really think, my friends, if more of us come together, inject this much needed sufficient transparency, which I think I'm doing in my own way, my friends. I hope you guys see and feel that. And again, giving credit to the likes of Catherine Austin-Fitts, especially in terms of the money, and talking about what's going on the covert side, what she's learned. Of course, your Joseph P. Farrells, Joe from the Carolinas, my friends. What we're doing, what we're really doing when we're talking about the truth on this all-important subject and everything that encompasses it, the technology, the lies, all the missing trillions, in other words, that has gone largely for the private corporations and contractors to control the most powerful technologies in the world, my friends. Number one being anti-gravity, okay? That is so crucial, my friends. And while we're doing it, my whole point is, we're shunning the dirty player. I think I may title this video, my friends, something like Shunning the Dirty Player, Corey Goode, and the TTSA. We'll see what the title is going to be and how this video goes along here, my friends. But it's so important. That's why in one of my last videos, my friends, I believe I gave credit to you guys, Joe from the Carolinas, Dark Journalist, Walter Bosley, Joseph P. Farrell and many others, Dolan even, that we're shunning the dirty players. And it's so important, my friends, and we're doing it usually with respect, decor, and firmness, right? As I try to do, and certainly do that. And I did that on the live stream with Joe when I had that amazing opportunity to be on his live stream. Again, I feel privileged and honored to have that opportunity. I hope and pray I'll have that opportunity again, because I think I got a lot to offer, as I say, on this subject, my friend, and some other subjects. So we had a blast. I think we rocked it. We definitely shook up elements of the deep state with a lot of truth. And I forget what my point was, my friends. Oh, just that, again, by shunning the dirty player, my friends, we're getting at the fact that, you know, we're trying to get ethical leadership. And the first start to do that, my friends, and especially with this all-important subject, to get the truth out, we've got to shun these dirty players. And they're puppets, my friends. The Luis Elizondos, the Tom DeLongs, the Hal Putoffs. These guys, some of the guys that are affiliated with Lockheed Martin, that's Hal Putoff. I'm sure he's a nice guy overall, but they're working for a TTSA. They know who they're working for. They know who's behind the curtains, at least most of the people. Come on, my friends. They know they've been given a story and a narrative to push, and feeding disinformation largely, distraction. A lot of it's distraction too. Keep in mind, my friends, again, as dark journalist and Walter Bosley touched on, and I talked about in my previous videos, it's all to distract the public, my friends, and us in these communities. And I'm really thankful, and I think we're merged in a way, some of us, into this community as truth seekers, my friends, and it feels so empowering, doesn't it, guys and gals? It feels so empowering to be able to provide truth on the most important subject, I believe, of our times, my friends, this whole UFO subject. Dolan likes to use the term UFO phenomenon, and a lot of people like to use that word. Okay, it's a UFO phenomenon, but we can provide clarity, my friends, in a lot of ways, at least in terms of when we discuss the UFO subject or UFO phenomenon. Let's not make the mistake of certain ufologists out there, no offense, but like a Richard Dolan, where he subscribes that we reverse engineer DT craft. We can't go there, my friends. It's not right. It's human brilliance. We made the breakthroughs. The Nazi scientists started first in modern times. They also had a template set up, or got the information, used the ancient Anunnaki, you know, the ancient civilizations back then that had that technology. They used them probably as a template for some of the research as well, most likely. But we'll get into maybe the ancient civilizations, touch on it more in another video. So, you know, there's so much to discuss here, my friends. And again, you know, Luis Elizondo, you know, oh, by the way, see my goatee? I'm trying to look like Luis Elizondo. But, you know, Luis Elizondo and Hal Putoff, my friends, they're not evil. I'm not saying that. But they're dirty players in terms of, and it's more people, the people behind the curtains, my friends, okay? Really. But we're shunning the dirty players, in other words, my friends. Because again, the Luis Elizondos, the Hal Putoffs, everybody pretty much associated with the TTSA, and DeLong has been coerced, and, you know, he's obviously, and he's making tons of money. He's selling himself out, I would argue, would say, right, to a large degree as well. He's certainly never going to get a lot of information that Luis Elizondo and Hal Putoff probably know what goes on in the classified world. Because Hal Putoff and Luis Elizondo, they work for the military, my friends. Hal Putoff is with Lockheed Martin. Can you tell I'm excited? So Hal Putoff, my friends, my point is, I told you, I'm trying to be bold, honest, open, and true with you guys and gals, right? So let's do that. I told you in other videos, my friends, and Dark Journalist has never said this yet. He's never touched on it, although he has said the TTSA that they're lying and disinformation, Luis Elizondo. But what they don't say, my friends, and I'll just share with you now, and hopefully Dark Journalist one day will see one of my videos or hear about it, is that I caught Luis Elizondo in a bold-faced lie. And I caught Hal Putoff in a bold-faced lie, my friends. And they said, Luis, and this is very important, my friends, you know, you should not lie about this, but they are. Luis Elizondo said in an interview, he said, because I listened to some of his interviews, he said the technology is not in their inventory, meaning the U.S.'s inventory, right? He has to know that it certainly is. And this is trans-international, this anti-gravity, amazing propulsion, my friends. Where's the book? One moment, I'm going to get you guys, I got to show this all the time because it's so important. Oh no, I can't find it now. One moment, my friends. I'm coming back. Oh no, I can't find it. Where did my book go? I'll have to find it another time, my friends. But you saw the book that I showed in my other videos. Here it is. Thanks for staying with me, friends. It's all about this, isn't it? It's the anti-gravity. You better believe it. Electromagnetic propulsion. The anti-gravity propulsion. The secrets of anti-gravity, my friends. It involves electromagnetics. It involves electrogravitics. Accelerating an object by the utilization of electric fields around a mass of an object, my friends. Okay? It's anti-gravity manipulating the magnetic fields. It's amazing torsion physics. It's a revolutionary non-Plutonian physics we're talking about here, my friends. I've talked about it on previous videos. I hope you guys may watch my other videos in the last several months, okay? And just recently. This is what it's all about, my friends. This is what they're covering up. This is what they've lied to for the public. They have been lying to us, obfuscating us from the truth for 70 years now, my friends. At least 60 plus, really 70 years since they knew about it, made the breakthroughs. No question about it. And the proof is there. I'll read you the newspaper articles where the scientists were predicting the breakthroughs they were going to make in anti-gravity in 1955. So they had already done it before that, my friends. And I've read you the newspaper articles in one of my videos. Unfortunately, it was windy that day. So again, sorry I got off track there, my friends, in the fact that I meant to say, you're probably asking yourself, what is, oh yeah, I did already tell you. The lie was that Luis Elizondo said it's not, the technology's not in their inventory. He's got to know it is, my friends. Literally, these covert military civilizations. If you watch my videos recently, my friends, I have a new term. Dolan uses the term breakaway civilization. He sort of created that a number of years ago, which is a cool, in a way, term, right? But I think it's more accurate to say, even, my friends, it's a covert military civilization. Because when you're talking about a breakaway and or civilization, it's covert and it's within the military. We've always got to context it back to the military, my friends. And never any, and there's no mystery as to who this civilization is in terms of a sentient being. This is humans, my friends. This is largely within the military-industrial complex. They're using slave labor to accomplish all this covert production on the moon and Mars. No question about it, my friends. And we'll get into that wild theory another time. But it's going on, I'm convinced. So, and it's only common reason, logic, and common sense, my friends. And we know right here on our precious planet, for example, all you have to know is the biggest economic driver, excuse me, just going up the camera for a moment, my friends. The biggest economic driver here on Earth, unfortunately, has been what? Warfare and slavery. So you better believe it's going on, particularly on Mars, for decades now, my friends. So anyway, Luis Elizondo, again, he had the audacity to say that the technology's not in our inventory. And we know that's not true, my friends. It's very compartmentalized. Most people in Congress, the senators, high government officials, high military, my friends, they're not even read into these programs. That's why when you get ufologists like Dolan and others who do conferences on just talking about how the national security state reacts to UFOs and talking about jet fighters chasing UFOs, I mean, yeah, it's fascinating, it's interesting, but you got to clarify, my friends, to get at the whole truth and get people to understand what's going on. What they're chasing is not ET. This is not some other sentient being. This is a covert military civilizations that are utilizing these UFOs, this trillions of dollars of hardware, my friends. And Joseph P. Farrell knows that, okay? He won't, and he's talked to Dolan. Dolan knows this too. And I will give Dolan credit. Just on the live stream, did you guys see, I don't know if you saw it, Dolan had interviewed Joseph P. Farrell. They were together on a live stream, right? And I watched pretty much all the interview. It was very interesting in a way. And they did you notice that when they talked about the crash retrievals, they had every opportunity, Dolan, he could have said the same thing he said on one of his live streams to say that he still believes that we reverse engineered ET craft, but he didn't say that. And of course, Joseph's never going to say that. Joseph, from day one in his books and on his blogs, he always connects and shows you the actual documents and the information, the proof that it was all Nazis, my friends. And even the Air Force had suspected that it had something to do with the Nazi technology from Roswell when you look at the memos. But Dolan always went by the one area of this other, one line of this memo, as a lot of people did. But anyway, you know, we're all, nobody's perfect. I can understand you're allowed to make mistakes. So I think Dolan, in a way, hopefully he's trying to change his viewpoint. I can understand his reluctance to come out and just tell everybody, you know, I was wrong all these years. The evidence doesn't seem to point towards reverse engineered ET craft. They're just stories, as I've always said, and I do believe there's enough evidence that because the paperclip scientists were there, and we know they were working on amazing exotic stuff, and it started in the SS in Germany, that it's us. We made the breakthroughs, no question about it. We didn't need ET help, my friends. There's no hard evidence of that, of course, either. So, you know, but again, Dolan's doing great work, and again, he and a lot of others, my friends, were helping to shun the dirty players. And especially Joe from the Carolinas, and dark journalist, and Walter Bosley, Joseph P. Farrell, we're doing it. And I think we're doing a great job. I think Dolan's done it to an extent, but if you notice, guys, and Dolan's being honest in terms of, he said that he really doesn't think that it's not much of a CIA op. Well, it either is or it isn't. And Dolan's not, he won't, you know, I'm not going to get into why he says what he says. I think he's trying to be honest, hopefully, on what he says there. But I think he's just mistaken. Joseph P. Farrell thinks as well that it is a CIA op. It's a CIA operation all the way around, my friends. But I think maybe the reason Dolan's reluctant to go any further with that and really agree with Joseph P. Farrell is, as you know, Dolan has been singing the high praises for a long time now of Hal Puthoff, and he even did it with Luis Elizondo, because I learned that even from dark journalists. Dark journalist Daniel, he didn't mention this, of course. He gave some high praises, and rightly so, when Dolan came on his live stream, I guess, a little while ago. But dark journalists had mentioned months ago that Dolan had been singing the high praises of Luis Elizondo. And dark journalists' words were, you know, that doesn't make any sense, because we know these guys are sending disinformation, my friends. And we know it's the people behind the curtains, the CIA, the intel agencies, that are pushing out this narrative to distract and blur the truth, my friends. They're trying to cover up, again, the covert military civilizations that are using anti-gravity, my friends. And there's a lot of amazing people in the military. I always qualify that. A lot of great people in the military. And there's great people in the CIA and the intel agencies doing great work, and that are also caught in the systems that would love to have this truth come out. I'm convinced of that. You got to believe that, my friends. But unfortunately, there's insidious agendas as well, and we got to be aware of it. We got to fight for our power and sovereignty, my friends, and get this truth out. That's why they're very nervous. The U.S. intel agencies, my friends, behind Hal Puthoff's, the Luis Elizondos, the DeLongs, who, you know, DeLong's been dropped as a frontman for the TTSA now, and the Corey Goods, the guys that are pushing these guys and creating this fantastical, you know, stories behind the secret space program, much of it that isn't true, of course. It's all to distract us from the truth, my friends. They don't want people still, after 70 years, they're not willing to tell the truth. And you know why, my friends? You know the big reason why now they keep trying to cover it up is because they can't give moral absolution, right? They can't give moral absolution because they've stolen trillions and trillions of dollars, parts of these covert military civilizations, the deep state in the U.S. and other countries do it as well, my friends. I'm not just going to say the U.S., but of course the black budget of the U.S. is significant. But my friends, they've stolen trillions and trillions of dollars. 21 trillion missing since 1998. We'll do another video on the missing trillions, my friends. I've done it before. We'll do a better one next time. And again, giving a lot of credit to Catherine's work on that. 21 trillion missing since 1998. That's more than that now, my friends. That was a couple years ago. That's a hard figure. My mother still, if she'd only watched my videos, she still hasn't watched hardly any of my videos, my friends. She thought, God love her, she thought the missing trillions was just a conspiracy, or, you know, that it wasn't real. This is factual, my friends. Thanks to Catherine Austin Fitz's work, the Professor Skidmore at University of Michigan. And we've got 50 trillion, as I keep saying. She's estimated shipped it out in North America. And it's pretty easy to understand why you get to 50 trillion. It has to do with the various bailouts. You had another trillion there, you know, the quantitative easing, the pump and dump of the stock markets, and you got the 21 trillion missing since 1998, right? And we know 11.5 trillion missing from the federal government, okay? So 21 trillion missing since 1990. So, my friends, the point is, again, they can't give more absolution. That's treason. All this theft from hard-earned taxpayers' money, my friends. You guys in the United States that work your asses off, these trillions of dollars, as you know, has been stolen from you guys. They funnel money out of communities that get their foot on the gas, as I say, every which way possible to get that money, largely for the black budget, my friends. And a lot of that's for the underground bases as well, but even more trillions for off-world investment, Mars and Moon, no question about it, my friends. So again, you got Luis Elizondo and Hal Puthoff. Hal Puthoff even went further than Luis Elizondo's comment in that he said that, and they were referring to this ridiculous tic-tac-toe UFO. It's almost like a Corey Goode scenario, right? With Ascension and the sphere being an alliance, right? But Hal Puthoff, when referring to the technology of that ridiculous tic-tac-toe UFO, the footage was terrible in the infrared. You got New York Times carrying it, which is, we know CIA's infiltrating the New York Times. Even Dolan does a good job talking about that. He knows that, my friends, Hal Puthoff says that China doesn't have it, Russia doesn't have it, and the United States doesn't have this technology. Are you kidding me? He knows they have it. He knows some of the anti-gravity is prevalent in these covert military civilizations. Because as I told you, my friends, there is no question, and this is how I'm going to describe it, my friends, because this is true, that these covert military civilizations are living through literally an anti-gravity space travel revolution. Absolutely. And this is why I'm wearing the shirt today, my friends, and I'm getting another shirt, a piece of clothing that I think is going to hopefully make you guys smile and make you guys and ignite your fertile imagination, curiosity. You'll see what I mean the next time I do a video, hopefully. But I'm wearing this shirt, my friends, because NASA is just a cover for all this, my friend. They've done some good work, but my friends, largely they're a cover. Almost every live feed you see UFOs, of course, right? The technology, my friends, again, it's the anti-gravity. I can't stress it enough, my friends. We have got to get the truth on it. And this is why the U.S. intel agencies, and really the intel agencies, I'm sure in other countries too, my friends, they're very nervous. They know the lies are coming to a tipping point. And my friends, that's why I give you guys so much credit, okay? The researchers that I named and everybody also that involved in these videos on the chat pages, supporting Joe from the Carolinas, supporting journalists, supporting Joseph P. Farrell, supporting the works of Walter Bosley, supporting even Dolan, even though I disagree with part of his theory, which is a very important part about this reverse engineered ET stuff. And of course, we won't even get into Linda Moulton Howe. She thinks we're living amongst hybrids. And she wants to, I would think a lot of that is to sell more books, even though she's a good journalist and done other good work. And, she thinks the cattle mutilations are ET, and has been saying that for decades, since just because a sheriff told her in the 1990s he thought it was aliens. I mean, come on. So, but I want to thank all of them, besides really Herb, that were helping to shun the dirty players and get the truth on this. By the way, Linda Moulton Howe, my friends, she even goes so far, she's convinced that we have lots of evidence that we're not alone, and that she even gives examples that jet fighters chasing UFOs is part of, again, that they're chasing ET, extraterrestrials, and that just because the parts of the government have said that and documented, they think that it's ET, that it is. Come on, my friends. Let's go back to the national security state. Okay, and Dolan has talked extensively about the national security state. And of course, you're never going to hear about Corey Goode talking about NASA, and he's not going to talk about the national security state because he's all about fantastical stories. And we'll get to maybe Corey Goode near the end of this video. But my friends, Dolan, when he talks about the national security state, he never, as far as I know, he never talks about how the U.S. country really has been run as I described, the moniker has been a Nazi-esque model. And Michael Schratt tells you as much, my friends, that the U.S. did the same thing as the paperclip Nazi scientists were doing. They copied the space program the U.S. did in Piedemonde. I hope I'm pronouncing the name right, there in Germany, right? The brilliant paperclip scientists had their space program. The Americans copied it right down to the countdown. And, you know, Americans have had some brilliant scientists as well. But we'll get into that in a moment, because they, with those Nazis, they created a radical, gnarly UFO technology when they got those paperclip scientists here. No question. But my friends, they copied the countdown. And then, of course, you know, what happened on the Eastern Front with Reinhard Gehlen's huge spy apparatus, my friends. And Joseph P. Farrell did great work in the past on this, and I'm sure he put it in his books, that on the Eastern Front, my friends, that whole spy organization, this is all part of history, that just rolled right into CIA, right? I mean, unbelievable. So, you know, you've got the whole intelligence gathering, the intelligence networks, my friends, the NSA, that just was patterned after those German originals. I said this on another video, my friends, okay? That's significant. It shows you, my friends, and there's all kinds of other evidence where the Nazis literally compromised that national security state of the United States. No question about it, my friends. They infiltrated it, and it was all to curate, develop, and research the UFO technology. The Americans did that with the Nazis. That's why they made the devil dealings with the Nazis, my friends. They were gung-ho for this UFO technology. That's the only reason, okay? And we'll do a video more on a guy named Walter Dornberger, for example. I've touched on him on another video, talking about the national security state, my friends, because it's so important. And dark journalists, before me, he did a good job really good job with talking about the history of Walter Dornberger, okay? That the U.S. brought him over, and he was a major deep state player, because dark journalists found out that he went on the itinerary list, folks. In Washington, D.C., you see him on the itinerary list, proving that he went to dinners with Nixon, and more than once, by the way. I guess Dornberger and his wife. And Dornberger was one of the most notorious Nazis, my friends. This guy, you talk about what do you call it, a corrupt moral compass. He was hanging people, and evil really, he was hanging people in the slave labor camps that didn't agree with him, right? And he was a very powerful man. He was in charge of the secret weapons project there in Nazi Germany, right? So he was the highest of the highs, basically right under Hitler and with von Perón. So my friends, that's just one example. In the U.S., of course, what did they do? They gave Walter Dornberger vice president of Bell Helicopter, right? Jeez, unbelievable. So, you know, again, talk about infiltrating the national security state, right? And the intelligence apparatus with a job like that. I mean, come on. So that's part of history, my friends. That's the truth. And so when you're talking about the national security state and how it relates to UFOs and this amazing technology that is being operated and run within the military-industrial complex by these covert military civilizations, you've got to realize, my friends, and we need truth on it, that the national security state was largely infiltrated by those Nazis, right? And they're in Washington, D.C., no question about it. And the point being, my friends, you better believe it's Nazis and Americans that have a large presence in space. The Nazis are, no question about it, okay? Now, I don't know if that Jason Smith that Joe interviewed, I'm not sure if he was really involved in the SSP, the secret space programs, and the real secret space program, as I put, my friends. He may have been, but I talked to a friend this morning, and my friend is a brilliant guy and a psychotherapist. He doesn't think, he watched that interview and analyzed his behavior and his body language and knows how people think and why they come up with stories sometimes. He doesn't think that he was really involved with the programs that he says he was. So, there's, you know, it was a very interesting interview nevertheless, my friends. Maybe Joe will have him back on again. It should be interesting to see if he does, and we'll see if those two talk again. And there's a lot of interesting questions from the chat page with Joe's video there. And of course, Joe asked a lot of very insightful questions right off the top of his head, a lot of times with Jason, and it was very enlightening. Anyway, my point was, my friends, Jason had mentioned about the Nazis, of course, and their presence. And I think for sure, no question about it, my friends, even if Jason was involved in the real secret space program, we know the Nazis, because the Nazis started up the U.S. space programs, my friends. This is all part of the Nazi model and the devil dealings the U.S. made with those Nazis, right? Not only did they whitewash and expunge their records, Michael Schratt, I'm not the only one saying this, my friends, Michael Schratt tells you it's the dirty little secret the U.S. doesn't like to talk about, right? But again, it's all part of history. It's there. And these guys were driving in wonderful Cadillacs. You had the brilliant Jewish scientist, of course, Albert Einstein. him and his buddies, the amazing scientists, Jewish scientists, they didn't, of course, they vehemently objected for those Nazi scientists to come over, rightly so. I mean, what the hell, what they were doing with the Jewish slaves in the slave labor camps. I mean, come on, folks. But this is part of history, okay? There's a lot of great Americans. Let me qualify when I talk about the Americans in any way, my friends, when we're talking about the devil dealings and the bad things that have happened in the U.S., you know, there's a lot of great Americans, great people, my friends, no question about it. But I'm just telling you so we can get this truth out to improve the U.S. and improve in other words, the whole world, my friends, because the U.S. are so powerful and they're in many other countries, as you guys know. So this is part of history, my friends. And again, part of that Nazi-esque model, right? As the U.S. used those Nazis, the Germans, as a template, okay, right? As to how they were set up, the intelligence apparatus, as I said, and their space programs. And part of that, the Nazi-esque model, the proven fact as well, my friends, I mean, and it's not subtle, is what? The U.S. State Department, Homeland Security? Is that subtle? Even Catherine doesn't think so. I mean, come on, my friends, just look at it, right? Homeland Security. So, you know, that's what's going on, my friends. And I've always said, as part of that national security state, I know this is heavy, my friends, but seriously, you know, the Nazis don't just have a fall, even Joseph says, they don't just have a fallback position. Joseph said this in so many words. They have a significant impact on geopolitical and diplomatic decisions in Washington, D.C., and that means internationally as well. When you talk about Washington, D.C. in these terms, my friends, it means internationally, of course, okay? So that's significant. And again, my friends, you guys and gals, when we're talking about the Corey Goodes, well, really, why we get so adamant, most of us, and want the truth on it, and we're objecting, of course, about the patent of the RSSP, this ridiculous, you know, wanting to get intellectual property, Corey Goode and his lawyers. Again, I think he's being pushed by the intel agencies and the large corporations. Dolan touched on it as well, and others, my friends, that, you know, if you're a private corporation, if you've got deep enough pockets, I think Dark Journalist was the first one to say this, I'm not sure, but you could, theoretically, you could sell that patent, right, and try to control freedom of speech, in other words. It's all about trying to control the narratives, my friends. If they could ever get the SSP patented, it could evolve itself into, again, these shadow groups to be able to just try to lie more, my friends, and cover up. They're very nervous, though, my friends. They know they have got to transfer out of this black budget technology very soon, my friends. Just for the sheer fact they know that rockets is not going to be able to mine asteroids, okay? Don't even get me started on rockets, my friends. We're going to do a whole video on just the ridiculousness of 1943 Nazi technology of rockets. It's dinosaur technology now, my friends. Come on, we're way past that. We all know that. It's anti-gravity. We've got cold fusion as well. Lockheed Martin are talking about finally releasing cold fusion. Well, they've had it for decades, my friends. Ronald Richter invented and was working with cold fusion, him and his brilliant Nazi scientists, in 1936. He was working for Juan Perón with those experiments in the 1950s as well. He told the U.S. Air Force. So, giving you some quick overview there, my friends, of historical context of what's been going on with these technologies. And that relates to what we're talking about, my friends. But of course, Corey Goode does not talk about any of this technology. He's a fantastical, whistleblower. And I think, my friends, nobody's touched on this as far as I know, any of the researchers yet, at least on the live streams, is that I think Corey Goode, he seems to, I wouldn't be surprised if he's been under some entrainment, I think that's the word, certainly like an MK Ultra, okay, experiments. Because, look at his flat affect. Look at the narratives that he's pushing out there, this guy, and this whole marketing thing that he's involved in. I wouldn't be surprised, my friends, if the U.S. intel agencies, some groups, have actually done an MK Ultra on his mind, putting false memories in. Certainly they've done that with other people. We know this, my friends. And Corey Goode, why? I don't think there's any reason or much to doubt that that's happened with him either. I think, or at least say it's a very real possibility. Again, my friends, whatever Corey Goode's doing, yes, we have to shun him, but we also have to shun and look at the people behind the curtains, who's really calling the shots. And again, my friends, it comes down to ethical leadership. Can we create a culture and society that will sustain ethical leadership? I think certainly we can, my friends, and it's going to be a challenge, but we can do it. And we're starting that process right now, I think, my friends, by shunning these dirty players in the TTSA, the Corey Goodes, the David Wilcox, the Emorys, and calling it out for what it is, my friends. It's not the real secret space program. And the TTSA, again, Luis Elizondo and Hal Puthoff, they've done some great work for their country, I'm sure, and the world in their own way. And Luis Elizondo fought, drug wars and stuff. I commend him. I'm glad he did so, and I value that. But they do not have noble intentions when it comes to disclosing real UFO technology, or they would admit, my friends, and tell the truth that the U.S. have anti-gravity. Of course they do. Very highly compartmentalized, as I said earlier, my friends, in these covert military civilizations, in the military-industrial complex. I mean, come on. And they've had it for decades and decades and decades, my friends. And they're doing covert production on the moon and Mars. We can see it on YouTube channels. One day I'm going to show my loving mom, and maybe my stepfather too, and eventually my sister, I'm going to show them the structures all over on YouTube channels of all the anomalies, okay? And even Billy Carson, I've told you guys on my other videos, my friends, he owns his own space company. Him and his researchers have discovered 50,000 anomalies on the moon and Mars so far. 50,000 of 1 million photos from NASA so far. And there's about 7 to 8 million photos so far. And of course, hard-earned U.S. taxpayers' money, all of us, we deserve the right to see those photos, my friends, including us Canadians, okay? And, my mom and my sister, they tease me about, I talk so much about the U.S. because we're Canadian here. But it affects us too, Canadians, my friends, a lot. When you're talking that kind of money that's been stolen, deciphered off, and I'll be doing more of a video, my friends, specifically on the space-based economy and the missing trillions, okay? And, even Catherine talks about it is, where's the $50 trillion going? And Joe and I talked about it, of course, as well. We all want to know, where's the $50 trillion going? Well, and the question is, how much is it of that $50 trillion is for off-world investment, just like the 21 trillion missing since 1998, but now you got 50 trillion probably in assets or more shifted out of North America into other systems. How much is it for off-world investment versus how much is it to retrench manufacturing back to America? Because they do, my friends, these groups, part of the international petro cabal, my friends, that belong to the United States, they definitely want to retrench manufacturing back to America. That's the silver lining in all this. But they're stuck in the mud right now. And how much is it versus how much is it to assert a global governance system? Because they definitely want to do that as well, right? So, I just find this whole subject, my friends, is fascinating. I think you guys, a lot of you, hopefully agree with that. And I know there's a lot of other people that are very passionate about this subject and passionate to help humanity, my friends, right? We want to get our power and sovereignty back, most of us, right? Well, to do it, my friends, we got to break down the walls of this elite secrecy. It's just out of control, right? It really is. And again, my friends, there's good people in all these groups, but unfortunately, my friends, the deep state. Let me just finish off this video by saying I want to touch on the deep state briefly, and I want to talk about the Constitution because it's so important, my friends, going back to ethical leadership. The deep state, the CIA, the people behind the TTSA, my friends, the deep state, we have to know what it is, right? You're never going to learn this on corporate media course because there's so much disinformation campaign associated with the deep state. We know Trump mentioned it, so it's in the public consciousness, of course. But the deep state, my friends, the great Peter Dale Scott, his definition, then I'll give you mine. He basically says, right, it's a system of power that involves your super wealthy elites like your oil, he used the term the oil tycoons, I think he said basically, people in the oil business is there. So you got your super wealthy international petrol elitists, in other words, right? You've got your Wall Street's involved with the deep state, no question about it, and your intel agencies and the contracting, companies that work for the intelligence agencies like Booz Allen Hamilton, right? For example, with none other than Edward Snowden. He was from Booz Allen Hamilton. And apparently he's a whistleblower. But, that's important to note, my friends. That's part of the deep state and the intel agencies and military, of course. But my definition is really, it's very similar. It's the people of influence, my friends, right? The influential forces and people of influence in the U.S. and abroad that really call the shots, right? And they often do, of course, unconstitutional and illegal activities. And Peter Dale Scott's followed a lot of the illegal activities and sometimes hideous agendas, like the assassination of John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. That was a perfect example. But my friends, we'll get into their savage murder of John F. Kennedy, and maybe his brother on another video, my friends. But it's very sad. So, but the deep state, my friends, so they use the military, of course, and they use the intelligence agencies, the CIA, FBI, all the all four alphabet organizations to carry out their agendas, my friends. And it's a very complicated system of people and institutions, right? So they use the intelligence agencies, but they also form alliances with Congress and often with presidencies and all the other various agencies again to carry out their agendas. 9/11 again is a perfect example, unfortunately, of elements of that deep state, I believe, carrying out, that hideous agenda. And other researchers I know this too. So that's the deep state. And again, my friends, elements of that deep state, the CIA and other organizations perhaps, they're behind the TTSA. Absolutely. Dark Journalist has been talking about them, right? CIA. And Walter Bosley, of course, Walter Bosley has experience working with intel agencies. He describes how Luis Elizondo double speaks. Of course, Dark Journalist Walter Bosley, they talk about he's a counterintelligence officer, so he's trained to lie. And Luis Elizondo